Welcome, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Just as a reminder, everyone will be muted on entry, and if you're not muted, then please do so now. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We'll get started in just a few minutes as we wait for everyone to filter in.
Hey guys, thanks for coming.
We're so happy that you all signed up for another episode of Drawing Days.
Yeah. Just so you guys know, I'm nervous. First time to do this, so be kind. But I look forward to this is great. Sam, thanks for inviting me. So
of course, we're so happy to have you, and don't worry, Judy, it's my first flight too.
No, it isn't.
Well, how many times did Rex say that in Star Tours? Probably over 1 million.
This is true.
Hey, Josh.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for coming. Yeah. No, this is part of, I don't know, this whole year for me has been like saying yes to almost everything. And you happen to come in the middle of it. And I was like, the old Judy would have said, no.
Well, perfect timing.
Perfect timing, Sam. So.
Hi, Carlos. Thanks so much. We're happy to have you. Just a couple more minutes and we'll get started.
Gotcha.
I hope everyone's having a good day. In LA, it's starting to cool down a little bit compared to, I think it was 95 degrees in our last Drawing Days session. So we're all inside. It's still helpful to have cooler weather.
Yeah.
Hi, Stephen. One more minute and then we'll get going.
Cool. So guys, I just as a heads up, I'll probably be more on focusing on kind of the beginning, people who haven't sketched a lot, or we're kind of leaning towards that today. But for those who are rock star status, please just push the envelope and have fun with it. And I'd love to see your robot sketches. Mine are a little kind of fun for me and all that stuff, but I can't wait and share with us like after. I'm sure Sam, they just send it to how do they?
Absolutely, I'll go over that when I start the intro, which is about now.
Oh, okay.
So, hello, welcome everyone to Drawing Days episode 2. We're so happy that you're all here. If you missed the first episode, doesn't matter. Each lesson and each episode are completely standalone. As a reminder, you are muted on entry. If you're not, please do so now. And then also this session is being recorded so that we can put it on the YouTube channel in a couple days. So without further ado, I'm going to start introducing this event. For those who are returning, welcome back. For those who are here for the first time, welcome. This event is about teaching a lesson in visual communication. And what that means is when you're in a charrette, or if you're having drinks with a colleague, or you're doing whatever, you just have an idea that you want to communicate better. We do like to use our words, but it's also better to have a visual communication aspect to it as well, especially in our industry where we're making real things one day. So this is focused on every age, no matter your status in the industry, whether you're a veteran, whether you're a next gen. It's focused on every discipline, whether you're an engineer, a business development person, a producer, a project manager, a coordinator, or even if you're a master illustrator who just wants to get back to basics for a little bit, this lesson is for everyone. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce our incredible teacher today. Judy Bradberry, who's with American Scenic Design, has been in this industry for 25 years. Working in themed entertainment, Judy has been an integral part of several projects from blue sky, design, production, field art direction, and installation. She's worked on projects all around the globe for companies such as Walt Disney Imagineering, Universal Creative, American Scenic Design, BRC Imagination Arts, and many others. Highlights from her portfolio include Pandora, the World of Avatar, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and New Fantasyland at Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World Resort. In addition to her love for design, Judy has found a new passion for health and wellness and has recently started a health coaching business. So without further ado, here's the incomparable Judy Bradberry.
Thanks, Sam. That was crazy. I've never been introduced like that. Hi, everybody. So as Sam said, we're going to be kind of, talking to the basics of how we do things. I'm going to be speaking to how I kind of communicate. This is an example of, really, I did this yesterday. And to be honest, guys, it's a good thing I draw because I don't know if I told you, Sam, yesterday, my computer totally died.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it totally died. And so I had to start kind of, fortunately, I did some stuff before, but I kind of had to roll with it. So I kind of did this sketch right after, and for me to kind of think through, what do I want to do? And so I want you guys to think about sketching just as another tool and a thought process. Another thing, I think, Sam, we were talking about, he said pencils, and I was like, you guys, no pencils. I want you guys to have an ink pen. I think I asked earlier, like a thin, medium, and heavy if possible. If not, just a thin one is fine, right? And we're just going to do the basics, 8.5 by 11 paper, and then let's roll. And so one thing, let's start with, I think let's just start with, just the basics of boxes, lines, and circles to just get you kind of warmed up, right? So, and this is what I don't want you to do. Can you see these guys? Yeah. So you know how architects like these perfect, so let's just get used to just being very rough and fast, right? That's kind of, once I started, my background is in architecture. And so I was always kind of get so perfect with my lines and elevation. Once you start kind of just quickly going through all these, just kind of roll with that and just get really, really simple. And you can, go overshoot those lines. And once I started doing that, then for some reason that just felt really, your sketches start to come alive, really. So now let's just kind of do these single lines, same thing, right? Usually I do a few of them, but let's just get through it, circles.
And if you have more than one piece of paper, that might be a good idea too.
Yes, I have a stack of it.
And so Judy, when we mentioned that you wanted to specifically use ink, why is that?
Oh yeah, because basically we're not, we're just going to go over it and not afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are part of it, right? And when you just kind of, similar to this, like let's say here's a box right there. What we're going to do is then later on use a thicker pen and make it, use the lines that we want. Does that make sense? Right. And so, and then it really gives kind of a texture to the sketch as well, right? And it's, when you're thinking like, Sam, you're saying in napkin sketches, you're not really thinking of, but this is another thing, guys, these aren't like works of art. This is just communicating to each other about A or B or, all this stuff. And we'll go through kind of that idea too.
Right.
right? So even the squiggles, like, I don't know. Again, these are just warm-ups.
Cool.
Yep. So, and then we can just, let's get to our robot sketches. So what I like to do is, depending on what you want to draw, like, I always have reference, right? So whatever we do, even at work, I always have reference, and then I'll even just copy verbatim first to get warmed up. And then from that point on, I kind of tweak it and start making my own. So what I want you guys to do is we can do 4 or 5 robot sketches together. And then the last couple, you guys will make it your own. Does that make sense? So,
Awesome. Guide us through the process with these 4 robots.
yeah. So let's have fun with this. And we're going to keep it simple, guys. That's the way I like it anyway. Just, usually it's just these really fun, simple squares. Little legs. Some of the arms. And I even have I also have a bunch of toys that I'll start with sometimes if I'm, I'll be doing this while I'm sometimes watching TV. And then for me, I kind of like doing these really goofy details sometimes, right?
So when you have these like little goofy details, what inspires you to come up with those?
I think a lot of times I'll see it probably on some of the animations that I see, or even these, I have up here, these references, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like these guys here, you can see they have the little, so then that's another thing, right? I'll use these as kind of, oh, let's do like this guy. I really like that guy. Let's do something like him. And then for me, I like elevate because I'll be honest, I'm not the best when it comes to perspectives. And so just to get an idea out, I'll do these quick, really rough, like front elevations first. Otherwise, if I start doing kind of the perspective stuff, I then start not having fun because I'm thinking more about the technical aspect than just the fun stuff.
Right.
So this is kind of like, this might not look, like, oh, that kind of looks weird, but I'll just keep rolling with it. And then even these little claws I'll put in, and then maybe a little bit of.
Hey Brett, can we spotlight the drawing section? Thank you. That makes it a little easier for folks to see.
Cool. So we'll do another guy. And then again, you experts out there, I'd love to see, just what you guys just, even without reference, I've seen some of you rock stars out there do a bunch of really amazing stuff.
So it's actually Judy who helped to inspire these events. She posted on social media a slew of little robot drawings, and they had so much character and personality, and they were so simple. And I was very inspired by that to say, I want to be able to do that. And I think others would too. So it only helps more with what we want to do in our industry to be able to communicate visually. So thank you, Judy, for helping to inspire this event. Yes, this will be posted on the YouTube channel later once the event concludes and we get it through HQ and editing.
Right. And let me know, guys. I mean, I'm just so used to doing this myself that, if I need to slow down or.
A little slower might be good.
Okay, we'll do the next few a little slower. So there's this, I'm kind of looking at this guy right now, kind of this guy, I forget, obviously you don't need to have legs. We can kind of have them hovering. So that's kind of cool too.
Oh no, flying robots.
Yeah, I know. What? And then what I like to do too is add these little like gadgets on their control panels, if you will, on their bodies, and
Mm.
and that kind of gives it like a little life to it, right? And small, you know what? I think like I like doing the small as well, because small versions, because then you can do a bunch of them. And then what I do sometimes, I'll go back and go over them, the ones that I like, right, with the heavier pen. But for today, let's just have fun with a bunch of different ones, right? So let's do another guy. So as you can see, I usually start with the head. The neck, right? And then I just kind of, let's see, usually it's usually like the head, neck, body, and then some, like you were talking about, do they hover? Do they not? One of my favorite things I like to do. Okay, here's the body. Let me check one of my, is like, maybe it's has a little all my automotive dudes out there are probably like, what, that doesn't work. But a little tire here
The
with
wheel, yeah.
like sometimes I'll do that just for fun. And then again, I'll add the details on the side. Sorry, I forget to slow down. I'm so used to doing this. And then again, these fun little, buttons. And then some venting, and then what do we want? Maybe it's just this slot. And then there's maybe lights that go up and down, right? If we added color, but I'll do that up front. And then kind of I think this is where some of the liveliness comes, is adding these little fun little, like, these kind of, I should have probably put him on a tilt or something, but something like that. It's kind of cool. So
Yeah.
so next time, like that one, how fun would that be? Yeah, he kind of like, hey, let's do another one real quick to beside him. Like, what if this is where you kind of have fun. You're like, this is, he's really booking down the road, right? So see how the sketching is just so rough? I think that's where the liveliness comes. And then that's when you start having fun, right? More so, even if you see the difference.
So when you're drawing him when you're drawing the little robot at the angle, how do you decide and communicate that they're leaning or going quicker or slower or anything like that?
Well, like for this guy, like I just kind of, in comparison to him, the second guy, I was thinking, remember how it's like that, if he's going fast, like it's kind of like when you're riding a bike, and you're turning, you have that feeling of, okay, I'm going through. And then another thing like I like to do is have these moments. And so I think part of it too is when you're out living, you be conscious of when you're riding your bike, be conscious of what your body's doing, or watch people around you. That's another thing about sketching. You start noticing more about your world around you. Does that make sense? Right? Like, and so like I also try to do oh, let's see, like when I start drawing trees, things like that. Like, I mean, now your world is a lot more your eyesight is more keen to what you're looking at. Does that make sense? So, I mean, some of this stuff is for me is like intuitive. And so I don't know if that makes any sense, but I know it, I'm not in animation, but I know in animation, they teach you all these wonderful, like, how to make some of their characters just really, depending on what they're doing, their moods and all that stuff. That's kind of how,
Right.
there's a whole thing, like even, when they animate, they watch themselves, right? Depending on the mood. I've seen that some of that stuff where they'll actually have a mirror and, depending on what they want to convey, they'll actually, use that in their animation. So this is another thing that I like to do. This is kind of like taking a light bulb. And so if this is a light bulb, it's just the head of it, right? It's kind of a funky thing, but sometimes I'll do that. And again, this is the rivets, things like that.
I see some lighting designers in the
I
audience.
know. Oh, I love that.
Loving the light bulb inspiration.
And then I'll like have fun with the legs, right? Are these little, and they're, the legs always have the hinges, right? So you gotta kind of, that's another thing that I started to do when I was sketching some of these. Then I looked to automotive stuff or, things that like, even tractors. I have a model, I was just putting behind me a model of a tractor that has all these really cool gears and jets that I'll kind of look at and, okay, that's how that works, or that doesn't work, things like that. And it kind of intuitive, it kind of comes into my brain every once in a while, like, okay, that's how it works. Or I'll actually take it here and then just sketch around it. And again, these things, you just add some of the motion lines, if you will, and then maybe give it a little. So, how are you doing, Sam? What do you think?
I think we're looking good. Do we want to try one where everyone kind of just does their own thing and doesn't follow along? One last robot for the road?
Yeah, let's do that. And while we do that, I wanted to show, I know people are probably, I wanted to show for those who are who are kind of new, I wanted to talk about just very simple, I know we have architects out there and designers who know this, but for those who are new, kind of like when I talk about a plan.
I like how you figured out how to do that. Yeah, I actually like that style. It's good.
I've done them.
Just a reminder, guys, to stay muted for the lesson. Thank you.
Lift it up.
Right.
And it's probably a better way to lift it up, period, because you're not putting as many angles.
Daryl, would you kindly? Let's unmute me and unmute Judy. Brett, would you be able to unmute Judy? Let's see.
Okay.
Hi, Sam. The option to unmute is available to Judy.
Okay, thank you.
You'll need to press the button. Thank you for your
Got it.
patience.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. So as I was saying, for the, people who aren't in the architecture or, to understand, because I'll be talking about plan section elevation as we move forward. This was a quick sketch I did to show, like, some people, I know I was talking to a producer friend of mine, she's, what's the difference between this and that? So I did this really quick. So basically, what it is like a front elevation is looking towards, like, if you're looking at the robot that's the front elevation. That's basically what I drew here, right? And so when I say top view, it's his top view, right? And so, but just so you understand, like when we draw it, basically, you know, when I use the elevation and then we actually project it so that it's all on the same scale, right? But so this is a top view or a plan view, I like to say. And then the section part is a section looking this way as if you cut the section through his body. And so this is kind of an idea of what that is.
Right.
Right. And so I wanted to do that quickly. I know that that's a whole different, Sam, you and I were talking about that. It would be good to have like a good series for that, for those who want to learn more about reading drawings and, you know, just the basics. I'm sure that would help.
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely.
So as you guys are sketching, this is kind of an idea of what that is for those who don't know, right? So, and so as you guys are doing that, what I wanted to also talk about was, you know, let's get to, you know, what the next thing I wanted to go through is some of the first project, not my first project, but one of the projects that I worked was Forbidden Journey. And so one of the things, as we were talking about earlier about sketching, is that I want you guys, even the most thing that I want you guys to learn is that sketching doesn't have to be perfect, right? It's all, again, all about communication, right? And however that is. So I want you guys to, that's why I like you guys doing the robot sketches. It just kind of gets you kind of used to that. And then find something that you love to sketch. And again, if it could be just the ink pen, that would be great, because then you can just kind of go through very quickly with your ideas. And so one of the other things that I also wanted to say is one thing that I learned from one of my favorite sketch artists, Pascal Campion. I was watching one of his things. He's a artist, and again, he said that the thing that I was very shy to show any of my sketches at work or anywhere else because they weren't like, you know, these illustrators that are like amazing, right? Especially when you're surrounded at WDI, all these illustrators that just come in and just, you know, do their thing. But one thing that Pascal said in one of his talks was, you know what, even a very, you know, if an artist comes in and it's beautiful, but it doesn't convey a story or an emotion, and then you have this one single line that conveys something magical, that's kind of where the magic is, right? And I think that's kind of where what we should do, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And for me, what I'm saying is that like some of these sketches, all of these sketches are not perfect at all. But for me, it conveyed an idea, even if it was just for me, and I used it to communicate with the team, right? So here's an example of one of my first like rough sketches at for the Forbidden Journey, the first one that came out in Orlando. And this was in, again, I'll be honest, saying the same things about, you know, what am I doing here? I'm in this charrette and in my head. And finally, I just said, you know what, this is what I want to see. So quick story, Thierry said, I want one of the scenes, he goes, let's have a dragon in it, right? And so I was like, yeah, that's cool. And so you guys know, you know, that bridge, there's a bridge there that I really loved, and I thought it would be cool if the dragon attacked us while we were under the bridge. Simple concept, right? But I didn't know how to draw a dragon. I didn't know how to draw this bridge, but I used, after I got over my head, I was like, I used just kind of like what I had. They had some elevations, and then I took, you know, I took one of these. It's okay to take like something and draw over it real quick, right? And use that, and then just make it your own. And even if it isn't perfect, like this was done very rough, but this was what I was feeling like. I want to be in that bridge. I want the lamps all over the place. And this is why I bring it up, because, obviously it was a team effort. We talked about it all back and forth, but this was one of the first sketches that, the team was like, yeah, let's do that. How do we do that? And so I want you guys to not be afraid. You know what? I won't say that. There's always fear. I would say just run over your fear. That's all.
Fly through your
Fly
fear. Be
through
a
your
dragon
fear.
to your fear.
Fly through, just, and just do it, whatever it is, whether it's a drawing or whatever. Magic's on the other side of that fear. So anyway, so this is kind of a couple of the sketches. This is, like I said, the initial sketches, and these are the type of sketches that I do with the team and many of the others, especially back in the day. We didn't do 3D as much, just to kind of figure out like the timing and all that. And we're not going to go through timing or anything like that. That's a whole nother thing. I think we should do that, Sam. Talk about
Well, that'd be a
timing.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Timing.
Yep. And so, but these are like these, the way I was thinking about it, these are kind of the ticks are every, second, and then what's happening in each of them and all that stuff. And at one point there were, I think there were 3 dragons in that scene. Today, of course, there's only one, but so these are kind of, I just wanted to give you guys an idea of, some of the sketches that I did then.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you got planned for us for
So,
looking at these
yeah,
sketches?
how are we doing at time?
We got about half an hour left,
Okay.
just under half an hour.
So this is what I want us to do, guys, and I'll do it with you. But basically, I'm going to simplify. We're going to be in the bridge. We're going to have, what I'll do is let's create a plan view of, and it's going to be diagrammatic so that we don't have to worry about all the timing and all that stuff. But I want to hear from you guys, or eventually, so this is the center line of the vehicle, let's call it that, the KUKA arm or the ride vehicle. And again, like I was saying, this is the plan view. And we're going through the bridge, and we're just going to create a section of the bridge and plan. All right. So let's just do, let's show the ride vehicle. Obviously not to scale. Our 4 little heads here. Right. Oops. I probably should have put the center line back here. So I'm going to do that. See how I just, don't worry about your, let's just say this is the center line. And then our bridge, we're going to go over the bridge. This is kind of what we do, I believe, in the current show. And then I'm just going to create, this is kind of the back of the bridge. And this is, again, a diagram, guys.
So can you talk about the lines that we're doing with the lines with the dot in between, and then the lines that you're drawing now, what those actually do to help us?
Yeah, so the center line is the center line of our, let's say, ride vehicle. We always do that in our, when we start developing these, it creates kind of like a datum point for where our vehicle goes. And then for us, because as an example, like kind of this is the base of the vehicle, and I don't want to go too much into it because there's so many other technical stuff into it. I just want to focus on, this is kind of where our ride vehicle is, our bench, right? And then looking this way, right? And so but basically when you see a a plan view of an e-ticket or whatever, you'll always see the center line and probably a dash of the reach envelope. But today I'm just going to show the center line of the vehicle. Here's the base, and then we have the ride vehicle, and then we'll be looking this way. That's another, we like to do that when we're sketching, right? And then this is the edge of the bridge, if you will, and underneath is our, we'll just call it like our floor I'm just gonna make it right. And it goes underneath us. Does that make sense? So, and then this is just an indication of the wood, right? And again, you don't even have to draw that. I'm doing that for us. And then I'll actually, let's use like a heavier pen to show this is the end edge of our floor. And then we can indicate kind of the structure. Right there.
Oh, those are our little lanterns, huh?
No, this is actually the structure. I'll show you in section what those are, but basically,
Got it.
if you're looking at the bridge, this is kind of like the window, if you will, are these pieces here. And then that's the structure that goes up and down. I should have
Got it.
I should have put together a reference of the bridge. Sorry, guys. But anyway, so that's one. So let's say you're coming, and then another indication that we like to do is put the arrows of when you're entering a scene, right? And then you're exiting into, I believe it's the spider scene. So that's kind of like what I'll often write to myself. And that's another thing, guys, use these as an idea, again, sometimes it's just for you, right? So this is the spider scene. I want to go through it. We're on top of a bridge and we're looking through there. And so as we go through, we're going to be traveling this way. I want to do 1, 2, let's do 3 as we're coming through. As we come through, what actions do we want to see? Right, Sam, you and I were talking about that. So let's say we'll do one, we're going to do a section through here. This is a section line. So I'll just call it that. We're going to do that. So let's call that, I'm going to just call it action 1 section. And then let's do action 2. It'll be the same section. And again, even though we're going over lines, let's just think, okay, this is where I want to be. And then the last one right before we go is this section. Right.
Right.
So we can do.
And we label them on all our actions, right? So that we don't get confused or anything.
And again, maybe what we're doing is we're putting together this for, for the team and say, hey, this is the idea that I like. What do you think? So here's action 1, action 2, section, action 3. And then we'll just do what we're going to do is do a series of ideas. But so in plan, what are we going to think about? Like in plan, I like to think about, well, what are we going to do? When I come into the scene, I think one of the ideas that we had was, what do you want? Basically, what do you want to hear, see, and now smell, right? Too sometimes, right? Like, is it smoke? Is it fire? All that stuff. So when you want to come in, let's say it's just in the beginning, it's more. So I want to see, I want to hear, because basically this is, let's call it the drag. This is another version of our dragon attack. So I like to do that, right? And so then you start creating these little sheets of ideas, right? Not this, yeah. For those who
Of course, not to scale. Nothing is to scale.
So yeah, so basically you come in, so action 1, I just want to hear the screeching of, like the screeching of the bridge, right? So, screeching bridge, right? And so again, you're just thinking about, okay, screeching bridge, and then what else do you want it? Maybe a little bit of what, smoke, or what do you think, Sam?
Smoke would be
A
fun.
little bit of smoke. So, and that's here at the first one. So the second one, another thing would be kind of, you
Do
still.
we want to start to see the dragon, maybe the tail?
Yeah, oh, yeah, I love that. I have that one. I had that sketch somewhere. No, I love that. Yeah, so we see the tail, and maybe the tail kind of like flings through. Tail.
I like this process because it helps to communicate with yourself what you
Mhm.
think you want to draw and depict.
Yep, that's why I like to do it. For me, I like to do it in plan first, and then you go kind of back and forth over the plan and section. So
Right.
the tail, and then I think the idea, like, wow, the screeching, maybe the screeching is just here, or the screeching, the kind of the, as far as the bridge motion and all that stuff, maybe it accentuates here.
Mm-hmm.
So the bridge gets a little, it starts kind of, maybe even some motion to the bridge actually. So then, like, when I just think about that, right, add motion, add. So again, another way of add motion to bridge. Right, or something like maybe some of the floor starts to move or something like that, or even, like you said, maybe the lantern. So that's another idea, especially once the tail comes in. So the idea is then, so when you think you come in the bridge, it's like kind of smoky, then you come in and then you have the tail coming through, maybe it like crashes. Let's do that.
A crash, yeah.
Yep, it crashes through, kind of like slightly, and then so the tail then comes through. And again, it's just an idea, so we don't know what it is, but it's a tail. Which is cool. And then I like kind of when you do something really crazy, you do, kind of what you see in the comic books, right?
Yeah. So is it important to have equal amounts of action per well, I guess does each action need to have the same amount of qualities to it? So like action 1 has 2, action 2 currently only has 1. Does action 3 need to also have 2, or should it have 1?
No, I mean, you know what? That's a good question. It depends, really. I think it's more about, like, as we go through it, we're going to be, if we did this together, we would have like so many of these. And
Right.
what I would do with this would be, let's just say we got buy-off from the creative team and said, I love this idea. Then we'd rush and get it into 3D, and then we animate it, and then we start figuring out the timing. How does that work, right? And
Right.
sometimes it's like, no, let's do the tail crash up here, or it also depends on so many things, right? What do we do with the vehicle, and all that stuff? So good question. I mean, you don't know until you develop it, right? But what I like to do is throw in all your ideas, and the fun ones that, if you're having fun, then the people who's going to write it are going to be having fun
Right.
with it. So, right. And then so the last moment would then be the, I'm looking at the time, so sorry. I'm
Yeah.
having too much fun already. The last moment then would be, let's just say,
We see the dragon.
see the
Let's do the big reveal.
Yeah. So then it is the head of the dragon. And so again, don't let, like, oh, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I almost, back here, remember when I was talking about this moment?
Mhm.
I almost made the reason, I almost did not do anything because I didn't know how to draw a dragon, right? Not
Right.
the idea. So what I want for people who, for example, you have this great idea, don't draw the dragon, just draw something and just call it, this is the dragon, right? Right. And you can do that as a conceptual thing. And then those who can come in and just, do the whole thing. But it's, again, this is something that you just, for those who aren't comfortable. And again, this is like, sometimes you were talking about thumbnail sketches, use squares and, circles, or, just, but, we know how to, you can use your words.
Bringing it back to our warm-up sketches with squares and circles.
Yeah. go back to that. So if it's something like, okay, this is what I have an idea, and I don't know how to draw the dragon. Who cares about the dragon at this point? Because then once we get buy off, you're gonna get you'll get your illustrator in there,
And we get into the weeds
and
of
you get into
everything.
the weeds of everything, right?
Yeah. So
Right.
what do you say we draw out our 3 section elevations?
Let's do that. Do we have time?
I
Jeez.
think so.
Good.
And this will serve as a great finale to this amazing lesson.
So I already did something like this for us just in case. You want me to draw with you guys? I'll draw over it. So here's basically that section. So this was the kuka arm, right? And then this is the bench that
We all sit in as the
we all
guest,
sit in.
right?
Yeah. So guys, on plan, this was kind of the section going in, and that's the bench. So in section, this is our bench ride vehicle, right? And here's our center line. So this is what I usually use to start, right? That's why I always put the center line so that it kind of gauges for me when I sketch it.
Cool.
And
So
then-
let's draw action 1.
All right. So action 1, what's our action here?
Well, hear the
So-
bridge screech and smoke. So I know that you already drew over for the section, but we need to give some
Yep.
folks some time to kind of copy it, or if you want to draw over what you already drew with us,
do
that
that.
might be helpful too.
I will do that. So here's a center.
So we'll start with our center line, right?
Yep. Start with your center line. And then the floor. And I'm simplifying the kuka arm, I know. For those guys the ride guys that know exactly what's going on. But again, this is the diagram. And then this again, back to our section. This is a section of our bench, our ride vehicle. If you guys haven't been there, you guys gotta go see it.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a really great one.
It's amazing, right? So this is, and then this is where I also like to, you guys want to, here's the, just notate. And all that stuff. And usually in our ride vehicles, we have a reach envelope. So I always put the reach envelope on there to remind me. And basically for those, once we get into it, I'll take like a CAD, I'll work with the show team. They'll give me a ride team. They'll give me a CAD section or elevation for all of these. And then it's accurate, right? When I sketch over it.
Right.
Right. And so, and then it keeps evolving once the design of the ride vehicle gets designed, everything gets kind of tight as we start to develop it. But for our purposes, this is what it is. And then
Right.
we've got I liked to put the bridge a little bit off kilter. So this is kind of the floor of the bridge. And then obviously it has to stand on something. So this is the structure, which hopefully the guests do not see. And again, this is just a section of the bridge, like a portion of the bridge. So I'm going to just do this really quick. And then whatever the bridge does, I don't even remember now. Yeah, sight lines, Carlos, exactly. Yeah, so basically like for someone that Carlos just reminded me, right? We've got another layer that we think about are the sight lines, right? The best, one of the things about the bench is we are, in our seat, we can't push forward as much. And we also have our the sides, right? So in plan view, basically that's our bench, and then our heads are here. So you can't, our sight lines, that's another thing that's important, right? Our sight lines are such as it's like that. So basically that, and then of course sight lines below And that's what I was thinking, like, so when we design every single second of, we need to make sure about, be aware of the sight lines and what you're seeing, what you're not, and all that stuff. So that's another.
So then we finished drawing out the bridge, right?
Yep. So then we finish up the bridge, and then this is action. We're going to call this action 1. Which probably is just very simple, because essentially it's, you come in when we say the bridge is kind of moving, or
Yeah, how do we communicate that
audio.
that the bridge is moving, or there's the screech and smoking?
So basically, the smoking is pretty easy. I like that.
Yeah.
So let's just say so you'll start seeing, I like just kind of doing these indications of these little smoke. So, and then again, use our word, smoke. Or something like that, and then same thing with the audio, like I'll even just do audio, right? Or special effects audio, like
Right.
bridge.
And so now we get to draw it all over again for action 2,
Yeah.
right?
Right. So, or, that's the thing. So what I would do then with that, like in architecture, we use our trace. We do this all the time.
Mhm.
But you can, nowadays, it's like in Photoshop, you just copy paste, right? People
Right.
can do that. So then now all you do is get your sheet of paper and then just quickly go over it again.
Right.
So you do that. And again, I think this is part of it, right? When it's not just copying over, you're thinking about, okay, what's the next? Like start thinking about the action to the tail, right? As you're drawing, start like, how do I want that tail to come in? And at the same time, what's cool is you're also getting used to, for those of us who are starting to just start getting used to the pen and not
Right.
being scared of it. Right? Hopefully by the end of this, you're like, hey, that pen's not too scary anymore. Because I used to be that person where everything was pencil.
Well, I feel like that's a lot of it for a lot of us who are
Mhm.
not illustrators or graphic designers or
Mhm.
anything like that. It's even just, where do we begin? And that's the hardest part. And I
Yeah.
think that this is a really helpful tool for us all to now have in our tool belt of, it's not so scary.
No,
There is a place to begin.
Yeah. And then I even made it very much more simpler because, I know we have, oh man,
Yeah.
time flew, man.
Got about 5 minutes left.
I know. Okay, let's do our tail. Where do we want it? You want it? It'd be cool because this is where our heads are. It's like something.
Sure.
So it'd be cool if.
Have it smacking through the roof.
Yeah, let's just have it come through the roof. Right. And then, so the idea then here is at some point, we're going to have to work with sight lines and see what that is. And, and then also would be cool to have not only that, the structure fall towards us, right? So
Right.
what I like to do is, since it's over there, like you can do a dash line of the structure and then like an arrow indicating, same thing with this. Let's just say another piece comes this way. Well, that's kind of how I would do it a little better, but for today, it's just like, so the idea of like, let's draw this structure. Breaks towards us, right?
Mm-hmm. And do we indicate the tail moving at all, or?
Absolutely, yeah. So then this is another thing in CAD, I would probably, you know, how do you do that? And sometimes this is what I'll do. What I'll do is sometimes this is what we used back in the day.
Yeah,
not
the
even back in
parchment
the-
paper, yeah.
Sketch paper, I call it, like, and then I'll play around with, like, if that's the hinge, you know, this is low key, I'm just telling you, right? Oh, maybe that tail needs to be there, but usually you'll do that in CAD nowadays, but sometimes I'll do that just for fun. But if I don't have time, but really you start nowadays, you just kind of work with your 3D artisan team and just playing. It's so cool now that you just have that and just like, hey, what if it's higher, smaller, you know, things like that. It's amazing what we can do with the 3D. And again, it's all about the sight lines, right? What do they really see?
Right.
Right. So let's say, what do we do? So we did tail crash. So basically, yeah, let's just say we found out that that's position 1 for the tail. Or position 2, sorry.
Yeah.
And then position 1 would be somewhere over here, and that's where I would, you know, and that's usually
A dotted line.
yeah, we kind of indicate that, like, right. Does that make sense? And then let's say we like this sketch. This is where, since we don't have much time, this is where I come in with my heavier markers and indicate all the, like, okay, that's where it is. And then these are, and then these guys. So those of you.
So
who-
as we're now coming to the close of the lesson, I would encourage everyone who's still here, do action 3 on your own. You have the tools
good idea.
to do so now. And then at the end, as we're now at the end, once you finished it, take a photo of it and then post it on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram and tag the Themed Entertainment Association, and then also do the hashtag TEA Drawing Days. And then we can see everyone's progress and work and everyone's robots that they came up with on their own, and also how you did with your final action for the elevation plans section. So as we wrap up to a close, I'm want to thank Judy, especially for teaching us this incredible lesson and things that we're all very curious about, and how we come up with what happens in a ride scene. And of course, with our lovely robots to warm us up and all that kind of stuff. But thank you for the amazing inspiration for this event series. But I think that the biggest lesson of all is to just not be scared about using pen and getting out there and actually starting to do something. Getting started is the hardest part. And I think that you've definitely given us the tools to combat that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks everybody. Have fun. I had a blast. I appreciate your time, and gosh, it went too fast, Sam. You're right.
I know, we'll have to do it again. So once again, I've been Sam Lieberstein. I'm with the Thinkwell group as your moderator and host of Drawing Days. And Judy, any final words?
No, just get out there and just run over your fear. That's it.
Exactly.
Go for it.
Exactly. So keep your eyes out, everyone, for episode 3. We will be probably doing that later in the month or at the beginning of next month. We're still trying to lock down a date, so keep an eye out for that full flyer. If you missed this one and you're watching this on YouTube now, hopefully you can come to the next one. Or if you're just doing the archives and going back to lessons of days past, we're happy to see you. Thank you for everyone for attending this session, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. And just remember, just keep drawing. Bye,
Thanks, guys.
everyone.